Just forget the PowerPoint. Not going to be
Connecting. Please wait for a few seconds for everyone to join. Connecting. So, okay. Yeah, they're there. Would you like to share? Okay, so they're there.
Oh, it's live?
Okay, so share.
Hello?
Hi, Dr. J.E. Fisher. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Welcome to the second day WYN Croatia Summit 2022. So before you start your session, so we do have a AB of 2 minutes of introduction of you. So that later you can start your session.
Yeah,
Fred, I need to move. I can't talk to her.
Yeah, okay.
She's trying to do the PowerPoint, but put me back in there.
Yes, you're there.
No, I'm not. Cancel this.
Yes, Sabia, you can share your screen and start the EV.
What's that?
Okay.
So
I'm
yes,
sorry?
can you hear me, Dr. J.E. Fisher?
Yes?
So yes, so before you start your session, so we do have a 2 minutes of introduction video of yours. So we will play that. So after that, you can start your session.
Okay.
I take the privilege to introduce Dr. J.E. Fisher. Dr. J.E. Fisher, PhD, has a history of high achievement in psychological theory and practice. He graduated cum laude with distinction in psychology from the Ohio State University in 1973. He was inducted into Phi Beta Kappa. In 1982, he earned his PhD at the California School of Professional Psychology. His dissertation was a primary prevention program skills training for single parents to increase security and reduce anxiety and depression using Maslow's hierarchy of needs. He was licensed as a clinical psychologist in 1983. Dr. Fisher conducts intensive 3 to 4 times per week psychoanalytic psychotherapy with individual adults. He owns many aspects of the patient's experience, past and present, in his mind and formless patterns. This helps patients understand psychological organizing principles Toloro, which govern their perceptions and actions. They become family alternative ways of thinking and acting. Dr. J.E. Fisher, PhD, is passionate about his work with children and adults, desiring to bring out the best in each patient. He is very articulate and has the capacity to put the psychological aspects of a person into words that the patient can understand. Dr. J.E. Fisher has been a clinical psychologist in full-time, solo, private practice for 38 years. This is the introduction of Dr. J.E. Fisher. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. J. Fisher, you can start your session. This is your stage.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, from sunny and hot California. I am J.E. Fisher, PhD. I have been in full-time private practice as a psychologist for 38 years. Over the course of my practice, I have developed positive esteem psychotherapy for children and adolescents ages 8 to 17. A key point in the origin of this therapy was in 1987 through 1991 when I formulated the psychological services for a Child Protective Service grant I had been awarded. I implemented positive esteem psychotherapy for foster kids who had disrupted 3 or more foster homes. Most had PTSD and oppositional defiant disorder. Positive esteem psychotherapy was effective in building the client's positive self. No. Since then, I've expanded and refined the psychotherapy to include child adolescent feelings and subjectivity and more diagnostic categories. In 1992, I focused the therapy on kids with ADHD and negative acting out behaviors. In 2010, I've been working with anxious and depressed kids utilizing PEP, or positive esteem psychotherapy. How to focus on a negative or deficit model in clinical psychology and psychotherapy can overwhelm and harm the children. We did have a PowerPoint, but we were unable to load it, so I'll just go ahead and continue. Psychotherapists, teachers, and parents focus on the negative behavior of children. This process is often referred to as the targeting of the negative behavior. In the case of psychotherapy, addressing the negative behavior. The identification of negative behavior in children is an essential part of the socialization program socialization process at school and at home. There is a high enough probability, however, that focus on the negatives will influence the identity and self-esteem of such children. Such children can become known by their negative acting out behavior, such that their strengths are not identified or not delineated clearly enough or often enough. They often have no identified or validated positive self. This is very important to stress. They often had no positive self as they were overwhelmed by trauma and negative rejections by others. In addition to the frequency of intervention for negative behaviors, the power of the interventions or interactions is often great, ranging from a grimace on the face of an authority figure to a loud exhortation to stop the behavior. Parents and teachers become frustrated, and many yell and shout. How power is a reinforcer. Negative behavior can become worse and more frequent. The major risk is that power struggles will ensue. The parents model behavior and the child tries to obtain greater power so they can thwart or hear signs of parental weakness or discontrol. A small child with a developing brain is no match for a parent. A yelling parent whose body language indicates upset and helplessness does not help the child feel more powerful. Children may resist their parents' verbal exhortations or an escalation in the child's behavior occurs. Some parents then intensify punishment to the point where they remove all the child's toys, games, and/or devices. The child may end up being so down and out they have nothing to lose but by resistance. A positive psychology. A positive approach to psychotherapy and to parenting yields positive changes in a child's identity and self-esteem, such that the child will cooperate in conforming their behavior to expectations. Negative behavior is reduced because the child feels they have a positive self and a reason to cooperate with changing their negative behaviors. This has been the outcome I've seen in my work with children: attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and behavior problems. I will focus on one diagnostic category that has received much attention by clinicians: attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD. What I have found in my clinical practice is that children with this diagnosis are identified by their weakness in academic work. The diagnosis is intended to capture those with overall difficulty in sustaining attention in action and The diagnosis is intended to capture those with an overall difficulty in sustaining attention, focusing and concentrating in academics and in play, as well as hyperactivity in action and speech. I have found, however, that their strengths have not usually been uncovered. Many parents have told me that their kids only do what they like to do, and this is exclaimed pejoratively, almost as a moral weakness. Unidentified strengths in ADHD. Academic work relies heavily on verbal comprehension skill. Yet the sample of ADHD kids with whom I have worked are often skilled in perceptual organizational skills. I have both discovered and reinforced through my therapy the perceptual motor skills and work strengths such as concentration, focus, and sustained attention. What they like to do, therefore, is work in their areas of strengths. We all like to work in our areas of strengths. Their area of strength is usually a prerequisite if it's in the perceptual motor area, for the skilled trades or creative arts. Working only in the academic area, for the most part, teachers give negative prompts and directions to ADHD kids to stay in their seats and read, write, and complete paperwork. They develop a negative identity through substandard academic work and limited or nearly non-existent positive feedback in the form of negative exhortations, nagging, and bad grades. Methodology of positive esteem psychotherapy. Positive esteem psychotherapy is a relational psychotherapy in which the rapport between the therapist, the development of a positive relationship, and a positive bond are paramount. And I'm indebted to my readings and studies in Carl Rogers, in the bonding theorists and researchers, Bowlby and Ainsworth, Robert Stollerow, and William J. Coburn. The therapy is an activity therapy, play therapy, or talk therapy. The child's strengths are discovered through an interactional modality between the therapist and the child. Work skills are observed, in particular for those children who have been labeled as having short attention spans and reinforced identity consisting of traits, temperaments, likes, and dislikes. Feelings, emotions, perception, and preferences and non-preferences constitute subjectivity. Robert D. Stollerow, the intersubjective perspective. Evidence of creativity and imagination are valued and communicated to the child. The therapist, therefore, perceives the child's strengths and positive characteristics through the talk and/or the play. The child is therefore praised. These are positive reinforcers, a la B.F. Skinner. The therapist breaks down the strengths, behaviors, traits, and subjectivity into smaller parts, employing task analysis. Each of the smaller parts then are utilized in the therapy. Intensive feedback of the elements which comprise the child's identity are verbalized and written down by the therapist. Each session yields approximately 15 to 30 phrases or sentences that are termed good things about the client, and it's labeled good things about Joe, Bill, Sally. Repetitiveness and redundancy are built into the process over the course of at least 5 sessions. The goal is to describe the child's strengths, positive attributes, and positive behaviors, such that the child feels known and seen as they truly are by the therapist. Instead of just weaknesses, the therapist sees the strengths and communicates them to the child. Therapist prerequisites are sincerity, respect for the beauty of human beings. I often refer to Hamlet's speech, "What a piece of work is man," in Shakespeare. Human individuality and differences. And most of all, empathy for the suffering of children. Okay, consequences for negative behavior and addressing of actual behavior problems in the positive esteem psychotherapy. A necessary companion to positive esteem psychotherapy is a behavior system for the home in which consequences are enacted. The child's behavior and internal issues are also addressed through the child based on their readiness to change. The therapist prompts good behavior. I will provide examples. Okay, so an example of a recent client with PEP. The client had visual hallucinations. He had been diagnosed, however, as ADHD at Children's Hospital in Madera, California. And so this visual hallucination was an intrusive visual hallucination of a little girl. His negative behavior was tantrum behavior, saying, "I'm stupid," hitting head with hand, banging of the head on desk. The consequence was he was released from schoolwork. Antecedent was inability to sustain attention for academic work, frustration with paperwork for language, arts, and math, and a probable reading disorder, a learning disorder in reading. Okay, so I'm going to give some examples of the positive interventions, the good things. There were 13 positive esteem psychotherapy sessions, and 219 good things were written down. So for strengths, number 1, you are quick to notice things that are here in the play therapy room. Number 4, good name you made up the Fluffosaurus Rex because he is fluffy and a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Number 9, you know Sesame Street. This is Flatteny Street, as you showed me a flat Ernie puppet from being stuffed in a drawer. Now, these are terms that he made up. Number 18, one of the best names is Chief Pancake Head, and another is Miss Spaghetti Hair, names he spontaneously gave to the puppets as he pulled them out of the drawer. Number 19, you are quick and good at coming up with spontaneous humor. Reinforcing positive behavior, subjectivity. Number 58, you are happy because you are speaking to me, you said. Number 59, you feel the Lego man who was hidden in the box was bored because nobody played with him for a long time. Working on his issues. 61, you thought too badly about yourself. You were able to connect 4 wheels in the connects, but don't get down on yourself because there isn't a seat for the driver. That would require a new goal and a new search for pieces. Number 65, if there isn't a name for what you put together with yellow Legos, don't worry. Like you said, there's no name for it. Number 66, working hard on your robot, you decided after a lot of effort that there is no good way to connect his feet. Number 69, good that you are following through and taking my advice to take your time and figure things out. He was good at spontaneity, but he needed help in stopping and thinking about things. Number 73, you are the first person to observe that the Duplo connection to the train cars have springs. Now, this is all parts of the play therapy room that I have. Number 83, you have revised your robot plan and rebuilt parts and added parts. Number 88, you are funny, quote, somebody really likes raisins. He had pulled the California raisin model figures off the shelf. The raisin had his arm eaten, quote, eaten, unquote. And it was actually broken off, but this is an example of this spontaneous humor. 90, you are being funny again today. You took out Garfield, stuffed animal, and had him say, quote, I hate Mondays, unquote. Number 99, you just told a joke, out of the blue, quote, Alice in One Foot Land. And it was an Alice in Wonderland play figure with just one leg intact. The other had been broken off, I guess, through excessive play. 103, you have spur of the moment humor. Your eyes see something, you can make it funny. Number 107, you have an imagination that doesn't take time off from work. Number 118, right when you come in, you waste no time to put your brain to work, this time interacting with the puppet. Number 122, you should not bang your head because it can hurt you. Number 123, I am really frustrated right now. Say I'm really frustrated right now as an alternative to banging head. Number 128, when I am frustrated, I can ask for help. Good that you are practicing this so you can get it in your mind. 30, right now you said you are not frustrated. 130, right now you said you are not frustrated with fixing a train track that you do not know how to connect. Because it is with your hands, you are willing to try again and try again. The strength in perceptual motor skills is apparent here. As 131 at school, should do the same. Try again. First say, I'm frustrated at school, then say, I will try again. Number 133, math is hard. Say, quote, I can learn math a little bit at a time. Now, these are directives that giving to him through the positive esteem psychotherapy. Number 151, you have a good imagination. I have complimented you on this many times before, but it is so good it is worth repeating. There's the repetitiveness and the redundancy, which I built in. And then number 184, you agreed you are feeling the love today and added, I love my little sister. Very sweet. Okay, so the results were that he had no visual hallucinations since about the third session, no tantrums in summer school, a solid positive identity as a quick thinker, and he was good with imagination and possessing intelligence. And he would repeat that he knew that he was good at that. And I provided him with hope. Now, since he started school already in the fall, he's struggling. And there's a comorbidity, I think, of a reading disorder, which will have to be addressed. There's comorbidities that have to be addressed outside of the positive esteem psychotherapy. I'm not sure how much time I have left.
So that's it. So question and answer.
So I have other cases that are more straightforward behavior problems that the child gets excited about their new positive identity, and the parents do too. The parents are usually very thankful because, of course, they are really emotionally drained from all the negative feedback they've gotten about their child and all the difficulty they have in helping the child conform. And so when they see these positive things, and like I said, it's 15 to 30 written that I write each session, some of them are just, thrilled. And the child is thrilled, usually wants to come back, finds that the play therapy with me is very reinforcing and fun as well. Okay, so are there any questions?
So maybe I can share. Give it to you. Any questions?
Are there any questions?
Can you tell me?
Well, if there's no questions, I can maybe give a quick example. Another. Or are we finished? Well, I have another example of a girl who had acting out behaviors in school, and her primary diagnosis was oppositional defiant disorder, which is the diagnosis of a lot of the foster kids that I worked with in 1987 to 1991. But often the kids with ADHD that I see have a concomitant oppositional defiant disorder diagnosis. And the positive esteem psychotherapy and the feedback on the positive is very, very helpful with that diagnosis. And this girl had a lot of trauma. And so the positive esteem psychotherapy was effective in bringing out up her strengths, which were not in the schoolwork. And so I think she had a concomitant ADHD diagnosis, although it didn't it wasn't positive, it was negative for when we evaluated that. But nevertheless, she had a short attention span for schoolwork, and she was very good, as I discovered, in the perceptual motor area, and just did wonderful projects with Legos, different, unique project each and every time she came in. And then she moved into art. She had done some art at home, but she became more and more sophisticated, and such that at the end of the therapy, she was doing quality art, certainly high school level art, which at that time she was in high school. So the behavior problems decreased significantly at school. There were a lot of family dynamics at home with repeated trauma, which in which I was unable to intervene. It kept happening over and over again. The stepmother and the father ended up getting custody of the daughter, but then they had trauma of their own and even perpetrated abuse of their own. So it was just a vicious cycle there. But she had her sense of positive self that she was able to do, which I think kept her from really becoming out of control or running away, or even hurting herself or committing suicide, because the abuse she had suffered was just that bad. All right, so let's see. Okay, so any questions? Melinda, am I done?
I really loved this topic. Thank you so much for your knowledgeable information. And so I think thank you so much for your patience, professionalism, hard work, and commitment to excellent medical care. So here is the question from our audience. So the question is, So, what during adolescence is correlated with self-esteem?
What's the question again? I'm sorry.
What during adolescence is correlated with self-esteem?
I didn't hear I can't understand the first part of it. I heard correlated with self-esteem, but you're asking what is correlated with self-esteem?
Yes, yes.
Correlated what behaviors or what? Is anything?
What adolescence is correlated with self-esteem?
What analysis?
Adolescence?
Oh, adolescence. So if I understand the question, it's what in adolescence is correlated with self-esteem. And it's again finding their strengths. And I don't know if I made it as clear in the presentation, but this was for children and adolescents, the positive esteem psychotherapy. And so self-esteem would be correlated with a healthy understanding of their strengths uh, in the event that they had too much negative behavior, um, such that they were receiving negative feedback all the time, as I indicated in the talk. So it's similar with adolescents, that they need a actual development of positive identity based on their strengths and their abilities, as well as their subjectivity, their feelings. I focus a lot on feelings, and this has been how I've refined the therapy since uh, the year 2000, is focusing a lot on the feelings within the positive, good things, focusing a lot on their feelings, helping to them to understand who they are as people, what their likes and dislikes are. And this is, of course, essential for teens who feel, misunderstood.
Okay, I think, yeah, this is the question. So, thank you so much for your information. You chose really a very good topic, and I really love this topic. So, thank you so
Okay.
much for being a part of this WYN conferences as a speaker. So, have a great day. Bye bye.
Okay, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to speak at your conference and a pleasure to speak to all of you, whoever is in the audience.
Thank you.
Okay, so
So, let's jump into the another speaker.